ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So Catherine is back with us all the way from Iceland.
That's
How
right.
was that? Tell us.
It was really wonderful. It is such a beautiful place, and it's so different from anything I've ever seen or any place I've ever been. You have lava fields and geysers and these like bubbling mud puddles that are,
Wow.
boiling hot mud. And we got to walk around the top of a volcano crater, and we got to see geysers, and we got to go whale watching. It was really, really great.
Jam-packed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was jam-packed.
Tell us about the food. Did you try the fish? The dried fish?
I did not try the dried fish. I saw it for sale, and I saw these big, giant wooden racks that they dry it on. And they basically, it's like beef jerky, but it's fish.
I feel like Master of None would do an entire episode on the dried fish. So
Exactly.
you have let down.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I like seafood in only certain conditions, and that's not one of them. We ate a lot of fish and chips. Which were good, really good. I mean, it's like when you eat fish and chips and the cod was caught, that morning or the day before. It's pretty darn good.
It's a different experience.
Yeah. It wasn't like frozen, fish sticks reheated or anything.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
One night we had lamb, and I'm not a real big fan of lamb, but this was very good, and it was enormous. I've never seen such a big portion of lamb in my life. So lots of meat and fish and root vegetables, but not a lot of green stuff. So Nicole would probably be happy.
I like it.
Sounds like your kind of place.
Sounds like my kind of diet.
Yeah. How did your son like it?
He liked it very much. He actually, I should have probably prepared him a little better for the fact that when you are traveling in a large group, you eat what is put in front of you.
Right.
There is not going to be any ordering off of a menu when you are with this size of a group, because he was disappointed that he didn't get to kind of show off his ability to try new things. That's what he wanted to do, and we had to be that's I'm sorry, not happening. So but the scenery was amazing, and this tour group that we worked with was fantastic. It was called Pink Iceland, and they actually specialize in weddings, destination weddings, and local weddings, and they specialize in LGBT travelers, but clearly we were neither of those things, and they still were just outstanding. So
Nice.
highly recommended.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get there?
It did not take long. We flew from Chicago, and it was about a 6-hour flight.
Really?
Because it goes it goes northward,
Right.
So yeah, it was
not
not
bad at
long
all.
enough to get any sleep, unfortunately. So the first day or so was pretty exhausting, because we just, we didn't stop to rest when we got there. We just kept moving, which is, I think the right thing to do, in terms of jet lag. But it was pretty tiring. They had in our itinerary that we were going to a pool on the first day. And so we thought, oh yeah, this is like one of those Icelandic, hot springs. Like the famous Blue Lagoon is there. And we knew it wasn't going to be the Blue Lagoon, but we thought it was a hot spring. Because the whole entire country is powered by geothermal energy.
Wow.
So the hot water is basically piped from the ground into your shower and is like instantly burning hot. And also smells like sulfur. But anyway, so they roll us up to this pool, and it's basically like the YMCA. It was just a pool.
They roll you up.
Yeah, in our giant tour bus. The kids loved it, but the parents were like, "Oh, I sort of was not expecting this to be what this is." But it was kind of nice to sit in a hot tub when you've been on a plane and a bus and everything else. So, yes.
That's awesome. How many times did the boys sing?
They had 3 actual concerts, and they also had, they would do like impromptu, street corner little concerts too. Mm-hmm. So, like in Reykjavik, they would just stop on a street corner and give a little performance, and then we had some little flyers to hand out so that people could learn about their concert that was coming up that day. So we had a decent, showing of people that came to see them, and they got to participate in the National Day events in this smaller town that we went to called Akureyri. That's north of Reykjavik, and it's the second largest city in Iceland, and the population is like 18,000. But they had a whole like little ceremony and a procession and a concert, and the boys got to participate in that too. So this is where they sang the national anthem in Icelandic, which not easy.
How'd they do with that?
They really did well, considering how incredibly hard it was.
Yeah, I mean, they just had to learn it phonetically.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they were working on it before they left. They had a YouTube video, to try to follow, but then once we got there, we had a guide who was particularly there for the musical portion of the whole thing. So he helped arrange the concerts, and he helped the boys with learning the anthem. So, and he sings in a choir at the big church in Reykjavik. And so when we went to visit and tour the church, they actually let the boys sing there too.
Oh, neat.
In one of their little pop-up moments. So it was very, very
What an experience.
Wow.
Yeah. How many days were you there?
About 6 days. We got there. We left on Sunday evening, got there Monday morning, and left on Sunday mid-afternoon. So
neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was
very cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had that experience, but I'm glad you're back now. I missed our podcast chats.
Yeah.
I know.
So
we didn't get to do our Tony live tweet this year.
I know, and we missed the Tonys. We missed the Stanley Cup final game.
Well, less upset about that.
Yeah. My son was disappointed about that. So
yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should kick us off then.
Yes, we should get back to it.
Okay. So welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. After a week off, I am Catherine Haleko, and with me today are Nicole Eridix.
After 2 weeks off, hello.
That's right.
Yes, Nicole is done ailing, back to health.
Yes.
And Terri Morrow is here. She has not been sick or traveling. She's just been holding down the fort.
I have been nowhere but chained to my desk, tweeting old episodes to keep everybody going.
So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? Parenting failures on our Friday speed round. We're going to hear an interview with Robert Rummel-Hudson, and we'll do some shameless self-promotion. But first, Nicole, you have a visitor staying with you right now.
I do. This has been the year of visitors so far.
This is what you get for living in Southern California.
I know. Everybody wants to come. Yeah, no, we have my daughter's friend who is back here for her 4th summer. And she is with us for 2 weeks this time.
And she comes from Canada?
She's from a suburb in Vancouver. So not an extra long trip like our last house guest who came from Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
But still an adventure nonetheless. And so she's here visiting my daughter. The girls have known each other since they were 2. And
Wow.
so she's back here again. And yeah, I was just kind of thinking, somebody had asked me the other day, having house guests and how do we keep them busy and what do we do and where do they stay, and it just is kind of like a whole thing. I mean, once you get into the routine of having people at your house, it's like, okay, time to change the sheets. You kind of like, there's this like machine that just starts up.
Yeah.
It's like, get the bedroom ready, get the towels out, like this whole this whole thing that gets set into motion. And then, but the great part is this year is that my daughter is driving. So there is far less for me to do in terms of entertaining. So,
except to stay home and worry that they're out.
I've got them on my my GPS here. They're actually today, they took the Metrolink down to Anaheim because they're going to a VidCon conference or convention. Yeah. And so it's for YouTubers and video creators and whatnot. So they got on the train at 7:30 this morning and went down to Anaheim. And so they're there all day. And yes, I'm keeping track of them as we speak.
Speaking of Anaheim, do you have to go to Disney every time somebody comes out?
Well, that's a really good question. We initially did that when we first moved here and started having guests here.
Yeah.
We would say, let's go to Disney. We'll take you to Disney. Well, yeah, that lasted like once. Now we're like, here are the directions. This is what you need to know. It's part of our house guest repertoire is getting them to Disney and tips for surviving Disney. There you go.
Have a good time.
We wave them off at the train station.
We'll keep your spot on the couch warm.
Yeah. So we no longer do that, but that was definitely part of the repertoire. But we have our little, favorite spots that we, sightseeing spots around town and places that we like to go and eat, and it's this whole thing. So I was thinking, even though this is Ava's 4th year here, she still likes to go around and do those things every year. So
those are the California things.
They are, yes.
Got to do to say you were there.
Yes, we do go to the beach though. We always go to the beach.
Oh, you always go to the beach?
Yeah, we'll do a day at the beach in Newport.
Canadians like that, do they?
Wow. Yeah, they don't have beaches like we do. At least where I came from. And has to be a visit to In-N-Out Burger.
Oh, I love In-N-Out Burger. I miss it. I'll come out and visit you.
Has to be a picture of the palm trees. Got to include that.
Yeah.
The sunset. California sunset.
Right.
Yeah. Some Mexican food.
Yes.
The whole 9 yards. So how about you guys? Do you get a lot of house guests, and what's your house guest routine? Terri,
do you get a lot of house guests, Catherine?
Not a whole lot. We get just family usually. So we have hosted some family holidays and things, and from time to time my parents come, or my brother and his wife live the closest to us, so sometimes they come, and it is some of that, because our guest room is on the first floor of our house, and it's kind of near the back door, and so it's like the drop zone for all of the school stuff and musical instruments, backpacks, in the winter coats and hats and all that stuff. So it be like my parents just came. They came while we were gone, and they, I had to clear out that room so that they would have a place to stay because it was filled with all of the last day of school. You know how when kids come home on the last day of school and so much stuff? Yeah, it was all in there.
I think my daughter's backpack is still full. She still hasn't emptied it.
Yeah, my daughter hasn't, I'm sure.
Oh, she has to do it by September, right?
Well, just so you know, one time I did that and I found a banana that was...
Oh, dear. Ooh. So now you
just check for perishables. I recommend it.
Oh, wow.
So, so we do the requisite cleaning. And I usually, what I do though is when someone comes to stay and then after they leave, I wash the linens and then I just put them right back on the bed. And then that way that's done until the next time someone comes. It's already done.
That's a good idea. Except if it's a really long time, do you then feel like they're kind of dusty and you should wash them again?
No, they're covered up. They have they have blankets and stuff on them.
Do you ever have this situation where you do it predictably, so you never have the question of, Did I change the sheets the last time? This is what we're constantly saying. Well, it's been a long time. Probably whatever germs are there are dead. It's probably okay. Possibly for this reason. We don't get a lot of house guests. I think that might be a commentary on, that's okay. We'll find someplace else to stay. We've been in your guest room, Terri. Fewer and fewer people. Because we have a very nice, theoretically, we have a very nice guest setup because we have a mother-in-law apartment downstairs where my actual mother-in-law lived for a while. And since then, we don't really use it for much. We have our treadmill down in the living room there, and we keep stuff in the refrigerator, so we have a spare refrigerator. But other than that, so it's like kind of going into genteel decline, the odd tile falling off the wall, the knobs falling off the drawers. There's a little bit of leakage in the bathroom. There's dust on the floors. It's just, I don't like going down there myself. And it's like, if somebody's going to come and stay, wow, we have this great guest apartment for you, except that it's going to take like 3 days for us to get it into a livable condition. Maybe you'd like to stay someplace else. So we don't really have anybody that would come that often to visit at this point. Most of the people we know live in this general vicinity. Sometimes my friend and her husband come and they'll stay overnight. That they haven't done that a lot lately, maybe because it's disgusting. And also my brother and sister-in-law come up from time to time from Pennsylvania where they live now. And we'll see them around town, or they'll stop by to give us something, whether they make the trip all in one day, which seems nuts, or they found other accommodations. I don't know. But they don't stay
but
here.
But you're not going to ask any questions.
I'm not going to ask, because you know what? That's fine. That's fine. We will be the curmudgeonly family that just, allows our guest area to slowly descend into disrepair and
we've kind
disuse.
Of done the combination, because a lot of times when the family comes, a lot of them come. Right. So, and not everyone can fit. And in that case, we do have a hotel within walking distance, actually. Right.
Oh, there you go.
So that's really handy. So usually if we are having both generations, like my parents and my aunt and uncle, and then my brothers and sisters and cousins, then the younger ones stay with us. And we let the older ones have the comfort of the hotel. But that's kind of a nice compromise.
Yes.
And then, Catherine, you were saying in one of our conversations related to this topic that your son was asking about somebody more permanent or for a longer duration, like a homestay student. Would that be something you'd consider, or...
I am really not interested. I mean, I see the appeal of it. It would be really interesting to get to know someone from another place and to provide them, a nice home for when they're in a foreign land. And I do have some friends. I have a friend in Colorado who has done it a bunch of times where they've had someone stay with them. But I just don't think I could have a stranger, even though, of course, by the time they're gone, they're not a stranger. But, someone staying in the house for that length of time, I would feel very I don't know. I don't see myself as that like private of a person, but I just feel like I would feel like I'm having to be a host all the time. And
it's just a big responsibility to be in charge of someone else's kid, too. Especially a teenager.
Right.
I remember the French exchange student when I was in high school, and she drank. I don't know if the people she was staying with knew, but she did.
Right.
So I've often thought about that too. I see ads for it from time to time. I mean, we're right next to the high school. We're like next door to the high school, and we have this little apartment downstairs. So it seems like we would be the ideal setup for something like that. But I don't think my husband or my kids, whenever I've kind of tentatively mentioned it, have been, why would we do that? Are you ridiculous? And, you know, and then as you say, it's just like you feel like you're constantly on and you feel responsible. Are they coming home at night? What are they doing? You know, if they're in the apartment downstairs and have a separate exit, am I going to know where they are? You know, it just seems like, you know, then again, maybe I will just withdraw into my little selfish family life and say, find another place, kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think it's something I could take on. I would just, I'd be too stressed. I'd be the same way.
And my friend who did it in Colorado several times, they had a couple great experiences and they had at least one not so great experience. You know, where the two of them were just really good about being easy to get along with and following the rules and you know, pitching in or just, you know, just being easy to live with. And then the other one was just a little, you know, she didn't understand, like when they said, you need to get yourself to school. We are not here to drive you. Like, that was hard for her to kind of grasp. So, you know, you just don't know what you're going to get.
You're really rolling the dice.
Right. I think you have to be the kind of person that is really just very laid back and things happen the way they happen. And
that sounds like us.
Exactly.
and really like extrovert, like a real people person, right? I mean, the kind of person who strikes up conversations with strangers all the time, or, you know, that's not quite me. But I mean, Terri, when you had your mother-in-law, like, that's a special...
How was that?
It was okay. It was nice that she had her own space, really her own apartment. I mean, we didn't have a locked door between us or anything. We, in fact, took the locks off when we moved in. But still, she had a bathroom, she had a bedroom, she had a kitchen, and she had a living room. Yeah. And she had very easy access to the laundry. So I could just kind of close myself up here. Plus, which, I mean, before that, my husband had been driving to his parents' house constantly to help them out with things. And so that was, then he was not home. And I didn't like that so much. And then my father-in-law passed away, and it was clear that my mother-in-law couldn't live by herself. And if she had, my husband would have been driving.
He would have been there all the time.
We weren't that far. We were like on opposite ends of town, so it wasn't like it was that far away, but it's still not home. Yeah. You know, and I also had felt like we had kind of outgrown the house we were in. There were some things I wasn't liking going on in the neighborhood. So, you know, it was like, we have to get a new house so that we can accommodate his mom. Yes, okay, a new house. That's great. So, or not a new house, but a different house. Right. So I was happy about it for that reason.
You were actually looking for a house. We
specifically looked for a house, yes, that could accommodate her, that had like a ground floor access for her and a place for her to live that would not drive me crazy. So it worked out very well. And, you know, and was not as one might think. But I think mostly, I mean, I think if she had had a bedroom in our living space and been around on our level of the house all the time, it would have been
that would be a lot different.
She could have her little kingdom to do with what she wanted, and we had our level. Yeah. And she couldn't go up the stairs very easily. So it worked out fine. My daughter would go down all the time and watch TV with her, which was very nice, except sometimes they were watching, like, you know, Maury Povich and stuff. My daughter would come back up with stories about what she and grandmother watched. So.
Wow. Pros and cons.
Yes. It was nice having somebody in the house that I could leave kids with and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
That was convenient.
That's true.
Yeah.
Built-in babysitter.
So, yeah, to some extent.
Wow.
So, yeah, it wasn't bad. But, now that she's not there at that lower level, it's like we're living in half of our house still.
Yeah.
So I sometimes wonder.
Do either of your kids have any interest in making that their space?
Not at this point. That's what I thought. I thought, at some point she would not be there anymore, and then it would be perfect because probably the kids couldn't live by themselves, but they could live downstairs. They could have their own pad. It would be great. Neither of them wants to.
No.
They don't like to be on their own. They don't want to be on their own. They like to be sleeping on the same level as everybody else. They would be scared down there. So consequently, it just kind of sits.
There.
And you know how rooms are when you don't really go into them very often? They sort of
Fill up.
Well, they fill up, but they also just get creepier. If you neglect a room long enough, then you don't want to go in there, and then it only gets worse.
Right.
So
That is true.
So that's kind of where we're at now. But maybe one day, if one of them gets married or something, if they want to live down there, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. Plus, my best friend, the one who helped clear off my desk and who goes on vacations with us, they right now live kind of in a downstairs apartment in his parents' house. And if his parents at some point ever are no longer in their house, they're going to come here. So it's like every time I say I'm going to have somebody move into that room, they're like, no, that's ours. That's ours.
We need that. Save it.
Yes.
Well, that would
Don't make
be
any plans
awesome.
for that. That would be awesome. That would be really, really neat. Whether it ever happens, I don't know. But they're going to have to do some repairs when they move in. Clearly.
Well, she's already shown that she's good at that.
She is. Yes, she
Yeah.
would clear that stuff out in a second. All my mother-in-law's stuff that's still there all these years later. Clear it out. Put it in a box.
But I think clearly, Terri, you are much more, you have more of an aptitude towards having people in your house than what Catherine and I would be.
Have I given that impression? That is probably not accurate. Did I mention that we are all on one level and she was all on one level and the two
still under
levels
the
did not
same
interact
roof.
that much? It was sort of like an upstairs and downstairs apartment
Even
rather
still,
than in
that's
my house.
still too close for comfort for me.
Yeah, I feel like if I had that kind of setup, then maybe I could handle the foreign exchange student. I don't know. But I don't think I'm going to be finding out. So maybe that's just one of the parenting things that we fail at is
That's
opening
right.
our hearts and homes.
What a great transition.
That's what our speed round is going to be today. A parenting skill or task or something that you're just not good at. So way back in episode 97, we talked about our parenting skills, our cool things that we had mastered thanks to parenting, which in my case was how to put a kid's hair in a bun.
That's right. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
So, what one thing can you single out that you're not good at? I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to single it out
Terri, you
because
go first.
I have a hard time imagining what my skills might have been because I feel like I'm just bad at everything anymore. I guess my biggest fail right now is failure to just take things as they come and not obsess and worry about them. The words I hear from my children most these days are, don't worry. Stop worrying. You worry too much. And it's like, well, that's the only setting I got, kids. There's not an off button.
Right.
And so, it's like, I don't think I have that option to not. But clearly, my family would enjoy it if I did and considers it failure on my part that I cannot stop. So I don't know if we've discussed on this podcast, or if we can discuss on this podcast what my daughter called me. I still tease her about that. No, it's not safe. It's not safe for a family podcast. Ask me in the comments on our blog, and I'll tell y'all, any listeners. But it was to do with my worrying, and it contained 2 words that you can't say on a podcast that has a family rating on iTunes. But it just delighted me and tickled me so much that I have now adopted it and want to like have jewelry made with that on it and want to use that as my online handle. And she just hates it that I enjoy it so much.
Right, that wasn't exactly her point.
I am owning it. Yes, I am this ridiculous worrying thing that you have called me in such a rude terms.
That's funny.
But
how about you, Nicole? If you were to be called a name,
called out. Well, I'm not very good. I think I've mentioned this before, but I really fail at making my kids eat healthy. I could do so much better. And I just, it's hard for me because I don't like a variety of foods. So to actually make it and then expect my kids to eat it, I can't take myself out of their shoes.
Right.
I can't say, here kids, sit down and eat this plate of broccoli and asparagus. And when all I want to do is just gag when I think about it. So I think I've done a really crappy job at introducing them to a variety of nutritious, healthy food. So I hope
do they like them now, though? Because it's like rebellion against you?
Oh, heck no. Although my son he's improved in his eating habits as he's gotten older. So there is hope for my daughter, but at this point in her life, she's really emulating her mother and is very limited in her fruit and vegetable selection. So, that kind of, of course I have the whole overall worry thing, the whole health thing is a big issue. But if I had to really pinpoint something that I just have really failed at, it's just making my kids decent home-cooked meals.
Yeah. Well, there are like about 1 million people on the internet who will take you to task for that, so.
I know.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's, I'm sorry. It's just, I have not done a good job of that.
You can't be good at everything, right?
No.
You got to give one thing up.
Exactly. I'm good at making phone calls and ordering food and making reservations. I'm not good at making home-cooked meals.
Important skills. How about you, Catherine? What's your fail?
Well, I feel like it's related to that. Like, family meals have just completely fallen apart, and it really makes me sad and mad that it's not happening, and I just can't figure out how to fix it. It's a combination of I don't like cooking, and I don't like cooking like in the limited time that is available to do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that everybody has to be somewhere at like 5, and they're going to be gone from 5 to 8, so they have to eat something, and and just that what's really upsets me now is that even if everyone is at home at the dinner hour, no one wants to come to the table and eat together.
Oh,
and that is really. It's just upsetting, because if I cook and then no one will sit there and eat it, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to eat over here, or I'm going to eat in my room, or I'm going to eat, in this other room, or I'm not hungry right now. That's what I get. So, well, I'm, one is hungry and they're willing to eat, but the other one isn't. And my husband is a huge offender in this area too. So that doesn't help because he's, not setting the tone.
Yeah.
And then if I'm like, no, you're not taking your plate to your room or in front of the TV or whatever, you're sitting here, and then it's just miserable. They will punish me for that. And that just feels like...
See, I bet the exchange student would sit cheerfully at the table.
That's right. Maybe I should get... and just shame...
You could see...
Shame the rest of the family into...
There you go. See how it is in other countries? They have dried fish for dinner, and so when they're here, they're happy for what they get.
Oh, boy.
We think.
Yeah. So that's my big confession. and my fail and all of our fails, which, we're doing the best we can. So
We are.
we should
Just don't come to my house and expect good food.
Right. We should all go back and listen to our super skills that we do have to feel better.
Feel better about ourselves.
Right. And there are new speed rounds every Monday through Thursday.
Yes.
Some of which are not as depressing as this one turned out to be.
Well, continuing on with this downbeat theme, I had my monthly chat with Robert Rummel-Hudson, who is the author of the book Schuyler's Monster and a blogger at Support for Special Needs. And as often happens, we made ourselves pretty depressed by the end of the chat. So let's listen to that now. You might want to, dim the lights a little bit, possibly grab yourself a glass of something alcoholic as you listen.
I thought you were going to say grab your wet washcloth to put over your brow.
Oh, that too. Yes. Certainly, I will feel like it after this conversation. So, Rob, I thought this week what we might talk about is something that has been keeping me up at night. For the past, how old are my kids? 23, 24 years, which is the constant second guessing of decisions made. I was, quite the advocate when my kids were in school, and I would be advocating for things and insisting on things. I wanted my daughter out of self-contained and in a regular class. I wanted this service. I wanted that service. I made this decision. I made that decision. And every one of those decisions for 20 some years plays through my head again and again and again. Did I make the right decision? Especially now that they're adults and I see sort of we're at the finish line or closer to it. And I see, well, you know what? Maybe that thing I decided when she was in preschool wasn't the right decision. And the thing that the speech therapist said to me when she was in third grade, I took the wrong way and it sent us down a path that I wish we could get back from. So I wonder, you're a little less far along on the path, although, with Schuyler's going to be a senior next year, right?
Yeah.
So it's getting real. I thought
That's
we
right.
could
yes, absolutely. And we're very, very excited, and it's going to be wonderful. And we're going to get a unicorn and a pony and a helicopter.
But are you at the stage where you're thinking, that thing I did that I was so sure about and so righteous about, maybe that was not the right thing to do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is this a universal special needs parents experience? It stinks.
I suspect it is. And it's funny because, I had these big ideas of how things could be and how they were going to be. And if we do this, then there's going to be this particular outcome. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the issues in which I've been sort of facing that is Schuyler's use of assistive technology.
Uh-huh.
We were so, I say we, I'm speaking for my wife, and I'm sure she would appreciate that. But at least for myself, I was very enthusiastic about, Schuyler using assistive technology.
Uh-huh.
She had this very clear, communication disorder. You could not understand her. And that was, and I think for me, I had this very sort of naive black and white idea of, well, she can't talk this way, so we'll give her this, and then she'll talk this way.
Mm-hmm. And
I think I did so without a great understanding of how young people communicate.
Yeah.
And how, and it's something I've kind of figured out since then. So, I'm not just now like, oh, crap, I got that wrong. But it took me a while to really embrace the idea that all of her communication pieces were items in a toolbox.
Uh-huh.
And that she was always, and this is the thing that tripped me up and still trips me up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She was always going to prefer to speak verbally, even though she couldn't. And she was always going to make this choice that was going to be the more difficult choice for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see that coming. I just assumed that, she would be presented with this alternative way of communicating, and she'd be like, oh, hey, look at that. That's what I'm going to do. And the fact that she has not been resistant, but has certainly always put that as her number 2 choice for communicating, I think if I had embraced the idea of her having this sort of toolbox, I think I would have approached things much differently. I've been a little bit less of, kind of a taskmaster about her using her device.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I will say that her spoken verbal speech has gotten a lot better, a lot easier. People who know her can kind of understand her.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that that's not a coincidence. I mean,
Yeah.
the research shows that the modeling that takes place with assistive technology has these very concrete, very measurable results in verbal speech, even for someone like Schuyler, for whom it's always going to be difficult. So I feel good about that part, but I wish I had let her take more control over what that was going to look like. Because I really do feel like I don't know. Like I may have bullied her over the years a little bit more than necessary.
Yeah.
That's just one example, but it's a pretty big one for her.
Yeah. Does the fact that you so championed the one thing cause her to either feel bad to do it differently or feel rebellious about doing it differently? Is she aware of what you sort of went through to advocate for that?
Oh, yeah, because she's been told by me about it a million times.
Yes, this is my problem.
We were perfectly happy living in Austin, and we moved all the way up here to horrible conservative Plano just for you. And this is the thanks we get. I mean, I've turned into that dad, I've turned into this is the thanks we get father.
Yeah.
Which nobody wants to be. I'll be out in the front lawn in my black socks yelling at teenagers' necks. But
and then you say to yourself, why would I say that to my child? Why would I put that in her head? And yet it's too late. It does not come out. Yeah.
I think we all, I was listening to an interview with somebody about a movie this morning, and I won't even say who because I can't remember because that's how closely I pay attention to these things. But he was talking about a movie in which he and his it was based on his life, and he and his wife and how they argued. Mm-hmm. And how he felt like the way that we fight in relationships, whether they're, husband and wife or whether they're family relationships, that the way that we fight is a measure of how well we care for each other and how we love each other. Mm-hmm. And that one of the reasons that fighting feels so contentious and so vicious is that, in our day-to-day relationships with other people, these would be relationship ending conflicts.
Right.
But with the people that you care about, there's already this level of we are in this together. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be an easily shaken relationship. Yeah. So the people that feel more comfortable fighting without the sort of, pulling your punches, politeness pieces, that in his view, those are actually healthier relationships because they may seem aggressive and they may seem brutal even, but they're based on this idea that we don't need to worry about permanently wounding each other. Yeah. And I think in my relationship with Schuyler, I think there are a lot of these moments where you get so frustrated. Mm-hmm. That you say these things that even as you're saying them, you're like, whoa, that's not good parenting. That was not a good choice. But at the same time, you have that leeway because you're like, well, this is a relationship that's not going to shatter because of the kind things we say to each other, especially when those unkind things have truth buried in them. Yeah. It's a terrible thing to tell my daughter, we did all this for you and this is the things we get. And that's awful. Yeah. Of course that's awful. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it's not true. Yeah. And that's tricky. And it's especially tricky with someone who has an intellectual disability is processing things in her own way. Mm-hmm. Yes. Hitting her with hard truth sometimes feels too hard. Yeah. But, but those are the relationships that we're in. And I look back on some of the pieces that we started early and maybe I would do differently that I wonder about. I mean, some of these conversations about what her assistive technology should mean to her, I think those might be some of the ones that I would rethink. Yeah. Just because it really did kind of put a lot of pressure on her. At the same time, that pressure wasn't necessarily bad. Yeah. But it couldn't have been, there are times when I look back and I think I could not have been a fun dad at that moment. That was not a fun dad moment.
Yeah. And the putting pressure on kids when they're the ones who have to go and do it. And you set the thing up and then you say, okay, go do it. And I think about it later and go, wow, I would not have wanted to be in that position to have to go and do that thing. That was really hard. Who was I to say, hey, I strung the tightrope for you, honey. Gone.
Exactly.
Gone.
What's holding you back? What's your problem? It's funny. You mentioned inclusion earlier.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've always kind of second guessed was our commitment to Schuyler being in an inclusive learning environment, but not because I think that might have been a mistake, but more that I think we trusted that if we put her in that environment, that the schools and her teachers in that environment would be there for her.
Yeah.
And
that was misplaced trust.
Yeah. And I look back on that, I'm like, oh, well, if we just believe in this, obviously they're going to step up and they're going to believe in it too. So, if I have any regrets, some of it is that I trusted in that more than I should have. And I never thought I would say this, but I think, wow, I should have been more of a jerk.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a point I'm not sure that would get a lot of agreement from Schuyler's team on, but you look back and you think, all right, well, if everything had been the way it was supposed to be, this would have worked out great.
Yes.
Schuyler was supposed to take I think I'd mentioned before that she had a summer internship, a job thing lined up this summer. And, we believed in this and we poured all of our belief into this. And she had the training session. It was like 3 days of training. It was its own special kind of awful, but she did it and she got through it.
Yeah.
And not a word. That was
oh my gosh.
And we've heard from the coordinator who's like, I'm really sorry. These companies aren't, they're not following through. Nobody's following through. It's a new program. It's not working the way it was supposed to, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, man.
And again, it was one of those situations where, we really sold this to Schuyler. We were like, this is going to be great. And you're going to make your own money. And it's going to be, this is what the future is going to look like. Well, now, ironically, maybe that was right. This is what the future is going to look like. You're going to train and you're going to be prepared to get a job. And then nobody's ever going to actually do that for you. So in that sense, yay, we prepared her for the future. But that's not what we're going to take a class in the eventual disappointment that you will feel when you try to get work.
Oh man, that is so awful. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. Yeah. Although she did get a unique experience. She did get her very first criminal background check.
Well, there you go. There should be a page in the baby book for that.
Yeah, I should get a printout for that. That's a big moment. But in general, I guess to get back to the topic, for me, the things that I've had the most regret about have been the things, not so much the things that we got wrong, although, boo, I got a list of those, but more the things that didn't work the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate the real world being as complicated and as sort of uncooperative with someone like Schuyler as it turned out to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing you can do about that.
And I never thought I'd be guilty of being a Pollyanna, but it's kind of how it feels.
Yeah. I remember one of my biggest advocacy triumphs that I bragged on forever was getting my daughter into inclusion. And I remember this one IEP meeting where the team was fighting against me, and this speech therapist who loved her said to me, Mrs. Morrow, you have to understand she's never going to be able to do more than sweep floors at McDonald's. And my reaction was, how dare you say that? Of course she's going to be able to do more and she's going to do this. And I, over the years, told her over and over again, these people didn't believe in you and look at what you're doing. You're going all through school. You're going to college. What I should have said was, what's wrong with sweeping the floor at McDonald's? That's good work. That's a paycheck. That's honorable work. Who are you to judge what is work that's worth doing or not? Because, of course, the time comes when that's the only job she can get, and yet she feels like it's a huge failure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, take those words back over the years, please, and stuff them down my throat.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel a little bit of that now when we're looking at her job situation.
Yeah.
Because all those years, and this is, I guess, is true with any kid, you have these discussions about, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some open positions for princesses and And I know the astronauts really exist, so that's on the table. Yeah. But eventually it's going to turn into what's reasonable, what's a reasonable expectation. And I feel like even that has kind of fallen short.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to do that differently. And when I think about going back and, could I go back in time and do that differently? I don't know that I'd want to have this conversation with her that's like, the world's just going to crap on your dreams, and learn that now and you'll be fine. I mean, I don't know that, if I make a mistake by being too optimistic about something like that, maybe that's a mistake I can live with. I don't know.
Right.
I say that now. I mean, as you pointed out, I'm just getting it. I'm just getting my feet wet on this whole having an adult.
You have so many more punches in the gut ahead of you. So
we'll have this conversation in a couple of years, and I'll be like, it's all terrible.
Well, as usual, it's been incredibly depressing talking to you, Rob. But thanks for coming and chatting, and I'll look forward to talking to you again about some other depressing aspect of our lives next month.
We'll talk about puppies next time.
Sounds good.
Puppies.
And now for our final segment today, we are going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terri, what have you got for us this week?
Well, I have a post up on Friendship Circle, went up yesterday as you're listening to this podcast, and it was inspired by recently we went to the New Jersey Special Olympics to watch my son compete, which is always fun. And one of the things I particularly enjoy about that, after watching him compete and getting free food from ShopRite, is going to the souvenir table and buying some t-shirts and some hats and things like that. And it got me thinking about looking at my wardrobe and my special needs shirts from Special Olympics and different things like that, and how nice it is to have some of these positive advocacy messages and how to get them if you aren't happening to go to the Special Olympics. So I went around Amazon and some other spots online and found some special needs t-shirts that y'all might want to put in your summer wardrobe with messages of advocacy and IEP sassiness and, special parent pride. So you can check them out. We'll have the link in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you. Catherine, what about you?
So I have in this current, which I believe is the July 2017 issue of Parents Magazine, the print magazine.
Catherine.
Yes, an essay that I wrote a long time ago, but it's finally seen the light of day. It's called Where Does the Time Go? And it's about how when my second child went to kindergarten, and I was like, wow, look at all this time I have now, because I have two kids in the same building for, 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's free.
I remember that feeling. Fleeting.
I was like, this is amazing.
It's a fleeting moment.
And then it's all, so the essay is all about how fast those hours slip out of your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool is that I've had 3 people now track me down on social media to tell me how much they liked it.
Wow.
3 total strangers. So that has been really fun to just hear from those people. So yeah, that's in the July issue of Parents Magazine.
Cool.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So check that out.
Yeah.
And I finally have something on my website that, once again, is another collaborative effort between myself and Terri. And I put together a list of 10 Twitter accounts to follow for people who are interested in inclusive education. Or want to know more about inclusive education. And I've listed 10 Twitter accounts that are must follows if you are dipping your toe into the waters of inclusion. Or not, if you just want to follow some really cool people.
Yes, yes. And the full list of that is up on the Friendship Circle blog.
Mm-hmm. That is right. It'll link to the Friendship Circle.
Right. Good to look at.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that is going to be it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from iTunes. Please please subscribe there so that you'll get all of our podcasts and our mini podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter, where I am at C. Haleko. Nicole is at Nicole Eridix, and Terri is Mamatude. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter. That's at Roundabout Chat. And look for the podcast on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin for providing our in and out music, and I wish everyone a great week.